Well, the plumber came and finally fixed my bathroom, and he explained to me how our plumbing program works here. It's real ghetto, um, and this is why we have this trouble. It's wrong to have your bathtub and your uh, toilet combined like that. Now I got to go in here and clean up this bathroom, and the bathtub, man, makes me, even after I scrub it down, it's going to make me scared to use it. Okay. I might just go order me a luxury hotel room every time I need to use the shower, okay? I hate having to, imagine that I'm stepping on what I just had to plunge out, okay? That's nasty, man, but that's the way our plumbing system works. But anyway, D-Roy Cruz here, your life applications officer. I feel better now that we got this done. I didn't think these guys would come in here and do anything about this until later on tonight, or not at all, because last time they were supposed to have come in here, I never met them. I waited here all day for 2 days straight, and they never came. And then I go to work the next day, and oh, they came? Seriously? Then I come back here, and my bathroom looks like nobody touched it. But anyway, I watched him do the job this time, so I'm praising God. I'm thanking God. Thank you, Lord. And he was very nice about it. When he knocked on the door, he seemed like, you know, like he was ready to, like, a little angry about being called over and over and over again. What are you doing about the D-Roy Cruz case? What's going on? Like, you know, or if they were calling him at all. I bet you if I ask him, he'll tell me that they called him one time. You know, the rest of the time, like, okay, 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 and all these people. Never mind. I'm not gonna go there. But he was a nice guy. He was glad that he got it. He was proud of himself for doing a good job, and that's the way it's supposed to be done. God bless him. Um, but I had a dream. I had a dream last night because I did like what, two or three, I think three transgender. Let me tell you something, Mr. Winston. I watched your atheist video. Why you became an atheist. First of all, why you became an atheist, you don't explain very well. That's not a reason to become an atheist. Um, you had one incident, and then you know, let me tell you something. It's a gift to be able to comprehend God. Just like a lot of kids that I grew up with, um, aren't Christians today either. And the ones that are Christians are the biggest hypocrites you ever want to meet. Last time we talked on Facebook, I had to delete them. You know what I mean? And they deleted me. That's how things go in the Christian community when we're not family. When we're not family. Okay? You know what I'm saying? If Democrats are aborting babies and supporting transgenderism, no Christian should be in the Democratic Party. Okay? Anybody can fix taxes, and Republicans want to fix taxes too. Republicans want to you know um make affordable, college and everything else. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same way with you, Mr. Winston. Like, I understand why you became an atheist. I want to see the video where you decide to become LGBTQ. I rest my case. You just said what I said, and I didn't see the video until I did these videos. I looked at your video, and it's like, okay, before I looked at your video, I did a video where I said, if you go down to the atheist community, you'll see also plenty of, or if I, or I meant, or actually I said, if you go down to the LGBTQ community, I think that's what I said, you'll find plenty of atheists in there, mixed in there with them. Because why? When you say that there is no God, and in Romans chapter 1, if you read it, that's what it says will happen. When you say there is no God and you worship the creature more than the creator, this is what happens. You forget or you become uncomfortable with your manhood or your womanhood. And you start doing nasty things, and it's okay because there's no God, see? But I had a dream. Right after I did not the last one, the second one that I did tonight, or this early this morning in the middle of the night. Because I was up dealing with this crap, waiting on somebody expecting somebody to show up here, and it never happened. But in this dream, I was at my job, and obviously it was I knew the story, this is the kind of dreams that God gives me. Like, I've had dreams and I've had nightmares. Nightmares, very simple, are of the devil, or they're of some kind of wicked pleasure, okay, that you can't pull back off of, okay? And dreams that stick with you and feel like you were actually there. Dreams that stick with you and you don't really forget them completely. They stay with you for the rest of your life. And there's always something about those dreams that you couldn't understand, that you're trying to figure them out. Just like everything else in your miserable life about God, this is another thing where you can't understand God. These dreams are from God. Trust me. And if you're having dreams, not nightmares, if you're having dreams that have some kind of message to them, that could be God speaking to you. But in this dream, I was at a place that was similar to my job. I guess I was working there. And I guess it was the apocalypse, because the dream starts off where I'm in this room, and there's in the room, the air is bad, the smoke is, horrible. I open up this door, and there's nothing but like dust bunnies in there, and all kinds of like here it is. Here's the first sign of the dream. The room that I was in was supposed to put everything in that duct and take it out and blow it somewhere where it eats it. Okay. But I'm in the room where it's doing the opposite. Get that? It's doing the opposite, and I'm in the room where that's forming, and I look behind me, and what I'm seeing in this hole right here is starting to form up behind me. These big giant dust bunnies, just garbage, sewage, Um, and I immediately knew what to do. I knew to leave, so I start to leave, and somebody meets me, and I end up in a shipyard. Where, again, this goes back to another dream I had prior. This was adding to that dream, but this is the T version of this of that dream. Okay. So I go in, and somebody meets me out at the just like wreckage, like a shipyard or something, where broken planes are or whatever, but it's right there in the same place. We went down the hall, we went out there, and it was like kind of like a fire thing where you have to meet outside. But I get out there, I find out there's nobody hardly here. So I meet this lady out there, And I'm thinking that I have to save her. She's saving me. Okay. So she takes me back inside because there's no way out from there. So we have to go back inside and go to the other exit. Well, we get to the other exit and we run into another couple ladies and a couple guys, and we're talking. And it's like we're talking about the evacuation plan, and we're talking about, like, now we're talking about spiritual matters, like, why are we the only ones here? We weren't the only ones here. So finally the lady decides that she needs to save me, so she leaves the other people and she takes me down another hallway. Okay, we get to the end of the hallway and this savior shows up. He begins to take me back the way we came. And I didn't understand that. Like, I was so glad to see him, and she was so glad that he found us. And she, like, basically just acted like, okay, he takes me back. She disappears and goes into some kind of evacuation place. And he's walking me, and these guys are running. They're running past us. Because when he showed up, they realized what the evacuation plan was. And this guy, he's in like this Mexican jacket, black jacket. You know, he's real sharp looking. You know what I'm saying? I say, boy, I'm glad to see you, I think. And he's like, watch your step up here. And I looked at him. He said, watch your step up here. So we get to the corner of the hall. All of a sudden, there's a wolf, like a wolf dog, in the hallway. And we're wondering why this wolf dog wants to get us. And he says to me, he said, don't worry. He won't hurt you. Just don't show that you're scared. So when we passed the wolf dog, when we bent the L, I realized there's another one. Same exact thing. But this one had little baby pups under it. And I was really scared because you know how a dog is with your pups. And he stopped and got in front of me and pointed at the dog. And, he told me, go, 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 go. So we go past there, and then we get to another L. Same way we came in. Everybody else evacuated. And there is a bunch of puppies there, all by themselves. And the dogs behind me are barking and growling and all like that. And he's pointing at them, and they're backing up. And I realized what this dream was about. I started to realize what it was about after that. And I couldn't really, I tried to step over him, but I ended up stepping on him. And when I stepped on one of the puppies, I realized that these puppies were sick. And that they were sick because of the mother. And the mother was sick because of somebody else. They were all sick, and that's why they were behaving the way they are. And you figure, their puppies are running around being curious or whatever. They were laying there, they couldn't move. And they were all bunched up in a ball, like, But, of course, this apocalypse, the airflow in the building is messed up. Everybody's looking for an evacuation plan, okay? So finally, we walk out, and we go into another room where he begins to have me pull these levers down to get airflow into the building and whatnot. And all of a sudden, these forces come in. They look like army men or something. They come in. They start walking down the hallways. And one of these dogs, these wolves, tried to attack one of them, and he shot him. Okay, And then all of a sudden, the hallway magically started to clear out. But when I got to the end of the dream, me and this guy went into this remote room opposite of the shipyard, the wreckage out there. And I saw the woman that came in before, and she was helping people. Now the gate was open. They were able to get out that way because for some reason they had blocked this way, and the scouts, the troopers, or whatever them things were going that way because they were going after the enemy. And we went in here. Now, I hate to break the news to you. The puppies on the floor, all scrunched up together, represent children. You're going to laugh. I'm laughing too, but this is the interpretation. The puppies on the floor represent children of transgender parents. The wolf dogs represent the parents. Okay? The building itself, the fact that I knew little bits and pieces about it, but in my dream it was different. I had to be led around because you know how dreams are. It looks like you're at work, but you're actually somewhere different. It just resembles, so this the door that used to be over here is over here now and stuff like that. So um I recognized the guy that was lead me out as like some security guard that I never met before. And he was supposed to be like the savior. I wouldn't say he was Jesus or anything like that, but he was like, the good guy. He was the savior in the dream. He wasn't Jesus or nothing like that, but I think he was an apostle or a prophet or something. I don't know. But, I'm not sure what he was, but I just know that I took his side to make sure that if there was more than one of him and they weren't on our side, on my side rather, that I would break them apart and take each one, me and this other chick and some other people, we would come back together and, fool these guys. But then the dogs showed up and they became part of the apocalypse. The puppies represent children from transgender families. The large dogs represent the parents. The building represents the apocalypse. The hallways and the bad airflow and the smoke and all like that represents the corruption that goes on in the LGBTQ community. Okay? The people that I met at the end of the hall, okay, were former LGBTQs. They were survivors. Okay? The woman wanted my trust because she knew I wasn't a survivor. I was a survivor of the apocalypse, but I wasn't a survivor of the LGBTQ community. So when we all headed back outside, then that was the end of the dream. Now you might ask, how the hell did you come up with that analogy about how do you throw us in there like that? Because of when I had the dream and why I had the dream. Because when I had the dream and why I had the dream. This is the things in the spirit that people that don't know the Lord can't see. It really is. And it's going to get that bad. But, you know, it was interesting to me when I realized who was who, what was symbolic of what. And I didn't get the interpretation of the dream until I woke up. But while I was in the dream, I knew that it was a dream about good and evil. I just didn't know which part of good and evil it was. And then I woke up and I realized that my computer was still open and I was still listening to the previous video. And I was hoping that these people didn't knock on the door and I didn't hear them while I was asleep. I dozed off and fell into this dream. This dream was bouncing off of words and sentences that I used in the previous video. Words like corruption, lingo that I use to describe, you know, the LGBTQ community, words from the Bible, you know. Do you know that there's a verse in the Bible where God calls the gay man a dog? But you wouldn't know that because it takes theology to understand that. It takes a lot of cross-referencing scriptures and seeing where else that culture, that group of people called somebody a dog. But another title in the Bible for homosexual is dog. And he put the dogs in the book of Leviticus, and it might be Numbers too. He put the dog and the prostitute in the same category. He called a prostitute a harlot. He called the homosexual a dog. That's why I know who was who in those dreams. Okay. My God. When you look at the scriptures, you got people, as I just completed these videos, I did 4 of them. You got people who live corrupt lifestyles. And God reminded me, you know why God gave me this dream? He wanted to remind me of what I'm talking about. Because people want to laugh and mock. Okay. And say that, and they don't want to be honest with themselves and say, hey, I'm in a very nasty situation here. I'm bound to a nasty situation and nasty relationships. I'm bound. Nobody wants to tell themselves that. And when I watched Winston just a little bit ago give his testimony about why he's an atheist, it really didn't make sense, because what you went through in life has nothing to do with the lack of God. And if you go to church and if your parents take you to church and all that stuff, everything has the BS that goes with it. I used to go to church and my mother used to make me stay in church all day. I had to sit there with the adults. I couldn't like hang out. I'm like, Mom, Aunt Rose and them are here from New York. They're right down the street. Why can't I hang out with them until time to go back to church? And they were down there having a blast. Innocent blast. Back then. No, you stay here with me. And I'm going to make me and Sister Agnes and Sister Ellis and all of us, me and a bunch of old ladies, you know, just sitting there you know, waiting for them, and when dinner was done, we had a blast. We had a blast. And sometimes, Sister Agnes was so funny. I love when Sister Agnes would come because she was an old woman that act like a young woman, and she was so full of joy. And but she only came like once a month. A lot of times it was just me, my mom, and Sister Ellis. And Sister Ellis she was a nice lady, but she was very gossipy, and she liked to talk about everybody in church and and all like that, and like But her and my mom were the best of friends, and that was back when my mom could walk. Praise the Lord. That was back when my mom was, before she was stuck using a walker or wheelchair. Um, she used to make her way down them steps. Um, and one of the things that we used to do is we had a back door, and I think it was because of her health that back door downstairs in the basement was invented. And my mom was really, 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 because we grew up in a better neighborhood, and which today is a ghetto, but back then it was a uppity up neighborhood. And we would come all the way to Pittsburgh to go to church, and my mom would never let me go out that back door downstairs, and she would never let me go outside unless she was right there outside with me. And what a history. And I just was stuck inside the church. And I remember the funnest things that would bless me is when Sister Agnes would bring my god sister Christina. She would bring her to church, and Christina, even though she was a lot older than me, she used to like hang out with me, and we'd go upstairs and play on the piano and different things. And the point of me saying all this is that the point of me saying all this is that everything has its dry place. There's, look it up on YouTube. There's preachers that preach on the dry places in the faith and stuff like that. And I was just a kid, but that's one of them dry places to where just what's this got to do with God? Why can't I hang out with my cousins and go play basketball and football? And why is my mom being so overprotective of me? And when she was in the hospital, when I got a little wee bit older and she was in the hospital, she had no choice but to let my aunt take care of me. And we had so much fun sometimes that I didn't really bother to worry about my mom. It was like after so many days, I'm like, hey, I miss my mom. So they'd get mad at me and take me to the hospital, and they wouldn't stay. They would just leave me there. And then they would come back later and get me. They were so lazy about taking me to the hospital to see my mom. Nice family, huh? We all supposed to be family, but they were so lazy about taking me to see my mom when this was their aunt and their sister. Okay. Um, it was like, oh, if we drive to what, West Penn Hospital, which is about 5 miles from Homewood, you know? Um, if we take you to the hospital, somebody's going to have to watch you. So they start bouncing me around between all the other family members to see which one was going to pick me up at the hospital. And they would call the hospital and say, can he spend the night? And they would say, well, he's got to really, really, really behave himself. You're not going to get that today. They say you can't stay at the hospital. You'll be given into the hands of the authorities and put in a foster home. If they tell you you can't stay at the hospital and they let you stay there anyway. But back then, the nurses, and white nurses, maybe one black nurse out of 20 white. Okay. These white nurses were nice, you know. You know, that's another video that, you know, it just reminds me, you know. They always stretch the rules for my mom. You know, they always went against policy for my mom because they seen so much of my mom and they seen so much of me. Every woman in there was like, you know, my godmama, you know. So they would let me stay, and they even at times would, like, you know, take me down to the children's room, you know. In that while my mother was getting x-rays and surgery done and stuff like that. People were different back then. These millennials have no idea. But let me tell you something, Winston. I've been through way more dry places than you can ever imagine. Wow, I was the son of a preacher and of a Christian musician. Okay. Not a pastor, but a preacher. My mom wasn't a pastor, but she did preach. I've been through the dry places. I've experienced hypocrisy in the church. And I've had my walkaways probably about 3 times. When I first went through my divorce, that might make 4. That was a short one, but we get angry at God. That doesn't mean we're not Christians. We need a break from going to church. That doesn't mean we're not Christians. We need to, you know, take a vacation and see how the other half lives. That's fine. That doesn't mean that we're not Christians. What separates us from our faith is sin. But you might be able to explain how you converted to atheism, brother. You can't explain why you went LGBTQ without sounding like a quack. Okay? There ain't no justified reason. What you gonna say? Well, I just started liking penis. And so, you know, God, so when I realized there was no God, I started to understand how important it was for a man to enjoy penis. And I hated God because he was trying to subtract me from the penis. He wouldn't let me grab a hold of that penis. No, 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 no. Atheists, you guys are dumb. Okay? Yes, by all means, you have problems understanding God. I do. But I know that God still wins. Okay? That's common sense. Okay? There's no way out of it. Sure, we can argue and argue and argue and argue, but God wins. Okay? God wins. Because I'm in the science lab, we're doing theories, everything in there, including, especially starting off with the paper that you read, the books you read, you know, and toilet paper to wipe your scientific butt. Okay? All of it burns. Glass burns, even stone burns and takes different form if you let it burn long enough. Okay? Everything in that classroom, glass, metal, paper, cardboard, them lovely little test tubes, okay, the microscope, can all be burned by fire. Okay? God wins. Now, when you build a lab, okay, that God can't touch. God can't get in there. He's not welcomed in there. He can't waltz up in there and start flying around for that little tiny crack in the window. Who opened the window? Ain't nobody in here. They know, we made sure the windows were locked. Who got in here? Okay? When you're studying all this science and you come up with disease, you come up with problems, you got to get surgery now, you got to take treatment, take medications. Wait a minute, ain't I a vegan? Wait a minute. Don't I have a beautiful diet? And it's funny to me. I was saying that right there to somebody who is a nurse when I worked at Shadyside Hospital. Right before I got this job, I was security officer at a hospital. I was saying to this, we were arguing about the COVID vaccine and COVID, and we started talking, and she agreed with me on a lot of stuff, but then she didn't. She disagreed with me. She agreed with me on a lot of stuff that we were talking about, but she didn't agree with me on the COVID-19 vax and all like that. And we got talking about science and how that works towards COVID, and I ended up talking to her about God, and she believed in God, but she tried to tell me that, you know, basically some things belong to science, and I let her know just what I just said to you, that as long as everything can be burned by fire, as long as wind can blow things away, okay, God does not have to answer to science. Sure, I could go in there and slap test tubes around, knock the microscope off the table and all like that. That doesn't mean that there's not science. It's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that it is God, Mr. Winston. It is God that has brought you this far. It is God that has given you anything that is non-trans, non-gay, non-atheist. Can you think of anything in your life that you can't give atheism credit for? Can you think of anything in your life that you can't give trans world credit for? You'll say, oh, I can think of a lot of things, Mr. Cruz. There you go. Okay? There you go. Unless you're spending your time playing Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Okay? And eating, I was going to say something nasty there. I'm not going to say that. Unless you're spending your time playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and just having trans sex all day long, or non-binary sex all day long, whatever. The majority of what you got going on there belongs to God. If you sit down and eat a piece of fruit, okay, and don't start getting freaky with the bananas and the pears, okay, then you can give God the credit for that. If you go outside and your car starts, you can give God credit for that. If you go outside and you thought it was going to rain, but it's actually sunny out, you can give God credit for that. Okay? If you go to school and you pass the test, you can give God credit for that. Okay? If you drive your car and don't end up in an accident, don't nobody come out of the intersection and knock you clear across the strip, okay, you can thank God for that. God is in control. God is in control. Like I told you, there was so much snow, and I don't know nothing about this town. I'm on the train tracks. The train comes every night around the same time. The white cop didn't care about giving me a ticket. He wanted to get me off the train tracks. And when he got me off the train tracks, in this town that everybody claims is racist, he didn't even give me a ticket for speeding and ending up on the train tracks. I should have been dead that night. You can't take life for granted. Okay. And give the things that were created by your hands and the hands of your friends the credit for you having your life and being able to live your best life or live half your life. But the reason why I live my best life, and I'm telling you this is my best life, I'm living my best life before I get rich. I'm living my best life before I get the job that I really want. I'm living my best life before I ever meet a woman and fall in love again and get married in my old age. If I even need to meet a woman and get married in my old age. I might be done with that chapter. But I'm living my best life, Mr. Winston. I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life in this rinky-dink place where the plumbing's all screwed up. Every time I poop, I'm going to have to call maintenance. Okay? I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. And does that mean I smile and act geeky all the time? No. Does that mean that I'm always happy? Yeah. There's some sad moments, like I was pissed off last night. But I still did them videos. And I still had that dream. Okay? I am DeRoy Cruz. This is my best life. And it's only going to get better. You say, ooh, if that's your best life, ooh, God, I'll opt out. Hey. You don't have to be all these things to be a Christian. But you need to be all these things to be all these different labels you gave me. Okay? And have all these different labels in your life. That's going to cost you a lot. Okay? And you need to be all these things to get on YouTube and condemn people. Okay? And don't run out of accessories when you do it. Okay? So to speak.